Welcome to episode 43 of Whatchu Spinnin. It's episode 43, right? Yeah. Yeah, fuck, dude.
Yeah, we're some timekeeper.
We're like rolling.
Did you lock him up again?
I did.
You need to let him out. He needs to know what's going on.
Unreleased.
Episode 43 of Whatchu Spinnin. Stoked to be here. Matt, thank you again for hosting this week as well. We've got some good stuff to go over today, but how y'all doing?
Doing good.
Hell yeah.
Another sunny day.
Yeah.
Got some sunshine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great weather.
Yes.
And I feel like this week's picks were all, once again, very unique and all over the place. So excited to talk about these great albums.
Yeah, we've kind of been doing that the past couple of weeks, kind of just going all over the Which Way place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking Plantasia. Saw 2 copies of that at Moonrock.
Oh,
really?
really?
They've got 2 copies
I
right
haven't been in there
now.
in a while.
That's cool.
When was the last time you went?
It's been like, yeah, I'm trying to stay away.
I
I have a problem, and if
I know.
if I go in there, it's like, hey baby, how's it going? And she wants me to stay, and I don't want to stay.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
need to leave, but she wants me to stay.
Yeah, she wants me to stay. So
You keep coming back.
go window shop in there. They rearranged it.
Okay.
Yeah, they added another wall.
Yeah, I've been there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a new wall.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
They put like more stuff on the other wall. Like
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, they rearranged it. It looks really nice. They have a whole Mort section now, and there were 2 different.
Cool.
I think it was 2 variants of Plantasia.
Oh
actually.
damn! They had a lot of stuff. Like they had a lot of like new stuff.
Mhm.
They had the new Cali Uchis album.
Nice.
Super good.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to it when I first saw it, but then I listened to it after, and I regret not getting it.
Damn. Yeah. Well. But let's go ahead and dive in. We're gonna go ahead and talk about my album first. And if you remember from last week, we're talking about the 1975, their album called the 1975, their debut from 2013. I'm a dipshit and said it was 2011 last week because I felt like I got on the trend super late.
Just great.
But no, 1975, their self-titled debut. Great album, great band to see live. I got the opportunity to see them when they were touring for their second album. But yeah, what do y'all got to say about it?
When you saw them live, sorry, I choked on my own
Yeah, you're
words. I'm so choked up. When you saw them live, so they've got the guitar player. What was the setup like? I'm just curious because the way the album plays out, there's so many different sounds. So how's the live production look?
So they had the typical like 4 band members. They had a bassist, guitar player, drummer, and then Matt Healy, the singer. They had some backup singers like off to the back of the stage. They had like a saxophone player that came out at one point, and then their guitar player does like the keyboard like synth work throughout it sometimes, and then sometimes they have another guy who's specifically for it. But like on Menswear, that intro, that's the guitar player doing that the whole time on like a little like a short. It's not like a Moog or anything. It's just like a little mini keyboard with like a fucking
Should be a Moog.
Yeah, little tuner thing on it.
A little coder or something.
Yeah, just like a little. I have one. It's just they're called something weird. I don't know the exact like name for it, but I have something similar.
That's cool though.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it was really sick because it was at Arlene Schnitzer Hall up in Portland, and it's a pretty big stage.
It is, yeah.
And so they were able to utilize it. They had like these different level risers, and then they had this rectangle just without the 1975 in it. They had 3 massive ones that just changed colors all night and stuff.
That's
Okay.
cool.
So it was like very spread out. Like everybody kind of had their own area and was bitching at one point. Like Matt Healy, singer, goes off stage, comes back with like the biggest size of a glass of wine I've ever seen. It was like a fucking flower vase and a cigarette, and he's just like singing and smoking and drinking while just killing it, just destroying. And I was 110% out of place. It was like some 17-year-old girl's birthday party in front of me, and like, and I'm just there like, yeah, woo! Like fucking getting it. I'm just like this big bearded dude in the back, just treating it like a fucking football game. I was like, 1975 kicks ass, dude. Like hilarious.
Dude, that's
I was getting a lot of looks from the birthday party. They're like, what the fuck is this?
It's got a lot of positive electro vibes.
Yeah.
You know, I can see that. I can see why that, why you'd be in that situation. But what a treat to see him live.
That's cool. I didn't, because the second album, I feel like I personally like that one better.
That was the tour that they were doing.
That's
too.
cool.
Yeah,
that's cool because they have like, I think, bigger songs. With Robert's on this album, it's super big, but that album too, that's a good album.
Yeah,
for them to watch.
And that one was the last one I actually listened to all the way through. I've heard some songs off of the 2 newer ones, but that second album, yeah, and that's like the cool thing was they only had 2 albums worth of material to go off of, and so like any banger that you like off of the last 3, it should be fine, as long as the green light's on. Okay. Any like big song that you liked off of those 2 albums they played. Like,
okay,
yeah,
that's cool. Like
Menswear, I didn't think they would played it live, and that's when I turned into a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah, it's a really unique song too. I like the way it starts out all instrumental in the first half, and then just dives into the lyrics.
It's like electronically.
Yeah.
Electronic, like synthy.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
When I was like initially, because when you brought this up, that's what I was thinking of too. Because I have heard 1975, and I like their music. I hadn't heard of this full album.
Really?
And it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. I got introduced to their second album.
Okay.
But this one, it feels like, what's the word? It feels like newer in a way. Like it's like more like a new sound that they were doing. Because this is like their first actual album. I had heard their EP because they'd done a couple. I heard 4. That EP, which has, what song is it that I heard off of it that transfer onto this one? The City.
Yeah.
I heard that on that, and initially that was my first introduction to them, and then I saw that they did that album, and then the second one that has like the same cover. It's got like a really long name.
I love you because you are so beautiful yet so unaware of it, or something like that.
Super long, But yeah, this album was good. Very poppy, very electronic aspects.
Yeah.
The intro song, the 1975. And then 12 cool like instrumental songs that are like electronic-y. Yeah. They have that feel to it. I thought that was cool. But yeah, I like threw a joke at you in our chat.
Yeah. Well, because I gotta go up before you dive in. I gotta go up to bat for myself. This is
wait a minute. This is how it goes.
This is like a band that I really like and an album that I really like, and based off of the other stuff that I've brought up on this podcast and how like I'm so into fucking metal music and shit. So going into something like this that I'm like, this is very different. So you were like Dorian into boy bands confirmed, and I was like, shut the fuck up, man. I was like, this is the only one I like.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because Dorian likes like metal bands and like rock bands. Boy bands also, veering into it. I'm like, okay, Dorian, I see you. No, but dude, great album. Like these guys, I feel like it's great. Also, they're like an English band, so that's cool too. It has a lot of feels also like Arctic Monkeys, like kind of that like mainstream poppy. Indie. It has like an indie feel too. So that I want to bring up too. I want to bring up more like indie albums.
And that was kind of what this was. This was kind of the start of me wanting to do the same a little bit, because it's like I've done, metal and, post-hardcore and shit like that.
Yeah, we haven't really dove into that genre.
Yeah.
I feel like we could all probably throw something in there.
Yeah.
We all
might be coming up.
Yeah. Ooh. And we've all and I was realizing we all have kind of gotten close to it with Ride. Like, I was like, this could almost be, like, there was some stuff on that album.
Was like
early indie.
With Phenomena.
There was some stuff on there that reminded me.
Phenomena. A little bit more of an indie feel.
Yeah. There was just some stuff that was like reminiscent of like modern day indie bands. So you can see like those albums influence that.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, we keep like flirting with it. I think I'm just gonna go full bore, and we're gonna get like almost to it. And so that's why I brought up 1975.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, that, and I had been, since I started recollecting, starting building my collection back up after I fucking liquidated it. This was like top of the list for me to find. Finally found it, and so I was like, yeah, I think it's
that's sick. That's cool.
Yeah. And now they've got like 7 copies of it at Moonrock, so I don't.
Shit.
Yeah.
It's there. They did like a lot of albums too after this. Like,
Yeah.
I was looking at it. They have like 3 or 4 other albums. Like,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy that they just released one last year. It looks like, or is it?
I think it was like late 22, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2022.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But no, I'm glad that y'all liked this. I was pretty interested to see what your take was off of it, because I was like, I don't know, I feel like Matt would get a kick out of this.
I think, yeah, like at first listen, I was kind of, because you said like it's Depeche Mode but poppier. Yeah. I bet you did. You said Depeche Mode but poppier, and so that's what I came in expecting, and it was exactly like that.
Yeah.
And for me, it caught on real well, and like the more I listened to it, there was so many good catchy melodies, and they do a good job blending like electro vibes and like kind of an R&B feel a little bit.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate that, and there was so many good melodies and lyrics that I remember. You know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just one song; there were numerous songs. I'm like, oh, that's a catchy one. Oh, no, that's another one. There's another one. There's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the singles to this album like did
Kill.
super well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're super good. All the singles by themselves like can be their own album.
And
Like
there were
the little
so
EP.
many, like whether they released them or not, but there were some that outside of what they released as singles that ended up getting a huge amount of radio play back in the day. You know, The City, Sex, Robbers, Girls, Chocolate.
All the EPs that they did before this. That's why. Like it was like
Yeah.
building up to an album.
Yeah. So let's dive into that actually, because that's something that I had almost forgotten about until I was doing the research, that they had 3 EPs out and then they're like, well, let's make a full album, and then they just conglomerated that and then added some stuff to it. They're like, let's take the best of the best off these 3 EPs, throw them on the album, and throw some extra shit in there to fill it out, and we're golden.
Let's go for it.
Which is pretty cool, you know, because they had a pretty strong following before their first album even came out. Before this even was released, they were huge, so it was like pretty tight.
Holy shit. So I was looking at it because there's like the regular and deluxe version. The regular version has 16 songs on it.
It's packed.
16 songs, and the deluxe has like 30.
Yeah, it's like demo versions.
39. Yeah. Holy shit.
There's on the deluxe edition. There's a good demo version of The City.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's
I like
it's
that
like
song.
slightly different. Yeah.
That's good.
But hell yeah. Do you guys have any other things you wanted to add before?
I do like that they throw the instrumental stuff in there, and it's either a track by itself or it's like a half and half.
Yeah,
and that's really cool.
Yeah.
They can just kind of stray away from the formula and do their thing with that.
Yeah,
it's always cool. Yeah. That's why I was asking about the live setup. I'm like, what do they have up there? What are they using?
Yeah,
how do they make that sound?
It's surprising. Cool. It's surprising because that was my
Mm-hmm.
thing too, and I went with a gal who had seen them live before on this tour, and I was like, I don't want to know anything, you know. And so I was thinking the same thing when we were getting ready for the show. I was like, what the hell? Like how is this gonna work? And then I was there and I was kind of surprised. I was like, damn, there's like not a whole lot.
That's what I felt about Cigaros. The same thing. You're like, they don't need much, and they just make that sound. So that's cool.
Yeah, I was
that's
just
really
like,
cool.
All right, the guitar player does like most of the other shit, and then they've got a sax player and a couple of background singers.
I saw that in the credits. They had a sax player.
Mm-hmm.
What is he on multiple songs? Because I was trying to listen. I was trying to listen back to it, and I was like, "Where is it?" Unless if it's like blatantly obvious, I just missed it. But I saw that in the credits that they had a sax player.
Fuck, what song is?
I forget what song though.
Jesus, I think it's.
But I know he's in there somewhere. He or she, I don't remember. But
I think it's Pressure. I feel like it's Pressure. That track might be.
Maybe. I don't know.
Pressure, Settle Down. What the fuck ever. We'll figure it out someday.
Yeah.
You talk too loud.
You talk too loud. I do. But no.
Wait, was that what someone said? Is that a complaint?
No. I do.
No.
No. Let's top 3 it up.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Let's do it.
Fucking do it.
Fuck yeah.
Honorable mentions. We're going Robbers, which is such a good song, man.
Yeah.
Such a good track. Robbers, and then Chocolate. And then for the top 3, number 3, I'm going Talk. Number 2, Settle Down. And then number 1, Menswear. Because that's always, like, when I first listened to this album all the way through, I was like, that's it. That's going to be my favorite track no matter how long I listen to this album, probably. Here we are.
Great picks. Great picks.
If I'm going to top 3, honorable mention, I'm gonna go She Way Out.
Yeah.
The guitar riff on that, it's good. Like it's like consistent guitar throughout the whole thing. The electric. Top 3, I'm gonna go number 3, Sex. Settle Down.
Yeah.
And then Menswear. Menswear, it's, I don't know, something about the electronic intro. It like builds up the song super well.
Yeah.
Super well.
Those are good, yeah. Honorable mention for me would be 12 because I like the instrumental, and Settle Down, kind of like a split between those two.
Yeah.
Great tracks. And then 3, 2, 1. I'm just gonna go because it sounds cool. Money, Sex, Talk.
Yeah. I like it.
That's how
Hell
it rolls
yeah.
for me. Yeah.
Nice.
I like it. Well, that was the 1975's self-titled debut album, released in 2013, which was my pick for this week. We'll go ahead, be right back to talk about the next one.
The last time they opened there, and then they had to leave because he's underage, like he's like 17 or 18 or something.
Oh, gotcha.
But we stayed afterwards just to see like the other bands because there was other bands playing. Like literally, like because they had like an interlude after they finished their set, and like everyone that was there, like all of a sudden just like whip out their like earbuds. Or like the little, like ear protection.
Yeah.
And they put that in, and we look around like, what the fuck? And then like the next band comes on and they were going hard, dude.
Hell yeah.
Like hard as fuck. And then people like were just like single person moshing and shit.
Oh yeah. It
That's
gets
cool.
doing it,
Yeah, just running in place, like
dude,
swinging their arms. Like some
yeah,
dude was
dude.
like swinging at someone. I was like, holy shit, dude.
That's like one of the really cool things.
It was cool.
That's one of the really cool things about that scene in general, like rock into metal. No matter how aggressive on either side, is you can go to these bar shows. Like they'll just play at a fucking bar that has a stage, and they're killer shows.
They kill it, yeah.
And you'll
dude.
you'll fall in love with these bands, and you're like, what the hell? Like, when I was working at Zoomies, my manager at the time was a bassist for a band called Paragon, which is a deathcore group, and they were touring with Oceano as an opener, and Oceano is like one of the biggest deathcore bands in the world. And I had never been to one of those shows. Like the most aggressive show I had been to up until that point was a floater gig, which is vanilla in comparison. Yeah. Like I was like, I still moshed at a floater show because you definitely can, but dude, and it was a 2-story bar, so you walk in and there's the bar, and then you go upstairs, and that's where the stage and everybody is,
dude.
and you're just like packed into a room that's like the size of this living room and kitchen combined, and just going bananas, dude.
Yeah. People just stomping everywhere and like
Yeah.
it was cool, dude. It was
Yeah.
a fun environment. Like I hadn't been to like that kind of show, so seeing everyone mosh, it made me want to be like, yo, I'm just gonna go out and just start fucking swinging or some shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There was a dude that like started a couple fights and like got kicked out of the bar because it's
I
like,
could see it.
because there's like, and this is another just beautiful thing about that scene is everyone is so cool, and it's like actually a loving environment. Like if you fall down, people are gonna pick you up.
Yeah, someone fell and they picked him up.
There was a motherfucker walking around with a shoe above his head, and he's like, shoe, shoe, in the middle of just fucking.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this is cool as fuck. But then this guy was like punching people in the head and shit, and he got like tackled by a bouncer and drugged down the stairs. It was sick.
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're into that kind of music and you want to just go have a good time, you don't have to mosh. I didn't. You can just go people watch and have the greatest time of your life.
It was good.
Yeah, and maybe you'll catch a cool band. Like there's a band called Aversion's Crown there, and it was their first gig in the U.S. They're from Australia, and they came. It was their first show in the U.S. and they killed it.
That's cool. That's cool.
But I feel like that was a pretty good intro to talk about Matt's album.
It was. It's a great intro.
I feel like it was.
Yeah.
So
Shoo!
So why don't we travel back in time? What do we got today?
We got 1992. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power. Their 6th album, believe it or not.
they just pumped albums out back then, dude.
But before this album, before Cowboys from Hell, they were kind of like an '80s glam with a different singer, different vibes. So this is kind of their sound for a lot of people. This is the Pantera album that put them on the map. It's their best-selling album out of all their discography. Terry Date was producer. I know we like a lot of Terry Date stuff. I could name some of the stuff we listened to that we've reviewed, but we all know numerous stuff by him. This is the first album that we hear Dimebag kind of change his name to Dimebag.
Yeah.
Before it was Diamond. Like Diamond Daryl had that 80s glam rock feel.
Diamond Dallas Page,
Diamond
WWF type of shit.
Yeah. So now he's Dimebag, but this album's so eclectic in a way that the riffs that you hear from the start, whether it's like Mouth for the War or like that intro, it's amazing. Like his guitar work throughout this whole album is it's so him. And it defines that Pantera sound. And for me, growing up and listening to bands like Danzig and Slayer and even Pantera, it's like that was just kind of the vibe back then. I remember just relating to this and using it in sports to like pump myself up or just like go do my thing, and like introducing other people to it too that didn't know, and they were like, oh wow, this is really cool. So being able to share that love that I had for this band and this album particularly was fun. So it means a lot to me. What do you guys think?
Fuck man, I echo that sentiment. This album and Pantera in general, I'm very, very familiar with their music. You know, growing up, my dad would be in the garage working out or airbrushing, and I'd go out and it was a coin flip. It was either going to be Master of Puppets, Vulgar Display of Power, or a Rammstein mix CD that he made. Like, any of those three. And so I'd go out there and he'd have this long-ass ponytail and just like, respect! Like, just listening to Walk, and I'm like 6, 7 years old, and I'm like, this shit kicks ass, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, this shit is cool.
That's so cool, dude.
In one of the, you know, we talk about Dimebag, he is heralded as one of the most prolific and just best guitarists out of the scene who didn't get, like, he could have, his career already was massive, you know, he left a huge footprint, but, you know, with his untimely death and how it happened, it's like the most heartbreaking one, because it's like, dude,
it is.
He was so unique. There is nobody on this earth who's come before or come after with guitar playing in any genre, especially metal, that can do what he did with his instrument.
Yeah.
You know, on this, you're listening to it, and it's like, you know, like fucking Hostile and Rise. He's just making that guitar scream like a pig.
Yeah,
and it's
dude.
like, bro, that's it's fucking, man.
He was an amazing guitar player, you know, respected by so many other people. You know, Eddie Van Halen loved him. I think he gave him one, but buried a guitar with him.
Yeah. Betty won EVHs with him. But no, and Vinnie Paul too, you know, to also give our flowers to him.
Yes, of
Rest
course.
in peace, Vinnie. His drumming was,
if you've ever listened to live Pantera stuff, you can hear Vinnie. Yeah, he can kill. He kicks ass.
Yeah, he can beat the shit out of a drum.
Yeah.
I tell you what. But yeah, what about you, Jake? Well, this was interesting. I was like, Jake's gonna either love this or be on the fence. Like,
no, dude, I love like these metal albums and these rock albums. I'd heard Pantera, I'd heard of Walk, I've heard of their bigger songs. Yeah. Not this full album. Damn, dude, it's so good. Super dense, a lot of material on it. Some songs are like super fast paced and just in your face. Like, I'm in the same boat as you, Matt. Like, if I'm listening to something to get pumped up, or like, you know, like gym music, like this whole album, like it was just on repeat the whole week. Yeah. When I was in the gym, because like, what else would I'm not listening to Marvin Gaye at the gym. Yeah. Like, I had to listen to something that was like, you know, like, just pumping me up. And yeah, man, this whole album, the guitar riffs on it, all of the like little details, very heavy riffs, aggressive songs, heavy vocals too. Rise was like one of the first ones that I realized, like, okay, like this is like super fast paced. It's like in your face the whole time, like you kind of like want to like punch through a wall, you know, like you're just like super amped up about it. Yeah, dude, it's nuts. And I was looking at it, they like around this time too, they were, like you guys said, getting massive. Like they toured with Megadeth, with White Zombie, with like all these bigger bands, so Soundgarden, I think, too. So yeah, man, it's some good stuff. And just the way that this album's laid out, you know, it's in the
the photo on the front of it of Dime
I know,
just getting suckered. That's what this album is.
Right.
Like from the opening for, like you said, from Mouth for War to the end with Hollow, it's just like it barely lets up. You know, you hear that intro to This Love.
I was gonna say, there you go.
You hear the intro and you're like, oh, okay, it's like kind of calming down, and then you take that love. It's like, oh no.
I'm sorry, Pantera.
I'm sorry, Phil.
I heard that song and I was like, is this like in an attempt to like a rock song or like a love song on like a rock album? Yeah. And then I hear I'm like, oh shit, never mind.
No, he's pissed.
Yeah.
If you want a good like mellower Pantera song, check out Cemetery Gates. That song fucking rules.
That's a good one. Yeah, the album before that.
Yeah. And that was the thing, man. Is they had, you know, the Great Southern Trendkill, Cowboys from Hell, Vulgar Display of Power.
Far Beyond Driven.
Far Beyond. I was wondering.
That was my toss up. I'm like, do I bring that one up or this one? And I relate to this one a little bit more.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
Yeah, Far Beyond Driven.
Because that's even heavier.
Too.
That's the next one after this, and it's like, how do you get heavier than this?
Yeah, you do somehow.
You do.
And like all of those albums have songs that are just staples in their catalog and in metal as a whole in the 90s. You know, like Pantera was it. You know, they came out after Metallica was selling out, you know, like
that was their thing. They wanted to capitalize on that. They're like, Metallica sold out with the Black Album. Let's do our thing.
And so it really did, you know, like they caught that door with their foot as it was about to close, and they're like, wait a fucking second. No, we're not ready for the grunge scene to fully kick off. We're still gonna be in the back end here just killing.
Yep.
And
that's a good point.
So yeah, I fucking love those albums by Pantera, and that's like why I wanted to bring it up, is because it's insane that they have those 4 albums and there's at least 2 to 3 songs that any metalhead could tell you, like, oh yeah, it's fucking Cowboys from Hell. Oh yeah, it's I'm Broken.
Right.
Like,
I was looking at their thing too, like it had like major success, like it won like Grammys and like a bunch of listings and got like really high critically acclaimed. So yeah, it had a big impact on like the metal scene too. So for it to be that good, and I want to hear their older stuff. Like, is there older stuff like on streaming
I'd say
or anything?
Cowboys from Hell would be the starting point.
yeah, don't worry about the glam shit.
Yeah,
the
glam. It's a different vocalist, and it would.
Because I saw glam. I was like, how can you? I don't know what it's like, but just it sounds like something completely different.
It's not Pantera.
It was like Poison Light. It was like Poison, but
light
worse.
dash of Poison.
Yeah, it was Poison, but worse. Like,
but we ain't talking Belle Biv DeVoe.
No, we ain't. And I think that was like the best thing they could have done, and that's such a wild jump that they went from being a glam band that no one knew of to being easily one of the biggest metal bands of all fucking time. It's unreal to think about.
It is.
Shit, man.
I was reading something too. I just read this off Wiki. I don't know how accurate it is, but about the album cover, that it was rumored that I guess the person on the cover was paid $10 a punch, and he gotten punched in the face a total of 31 times.
Damn. To
get the right picture, like the right shot, I guess.
Damn.
I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know, but that looks like it hurts.
Yeah.
Like that guy's face.
Yeah, when you see the eyes scrunched up like that and the lips going, you know that's a good connection right there.
That hurt. That guy's hand.
Yeah.
No.
Tyson would be proud.
Yeah. I think for Pantera, this album kind of changed the direction of their sound too, going for that glam rock feel, and I think that's a lot of the lyrics behind this album. Like, people were like kind of upset. Maybe they like the old Pantera, and Phil's like, walk.
Yeah.
This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this and make our music and do our thing. So, and the title too comes from the Exorcist movie. I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think. What does it say? The priest is talking to the girl, and she says that somehow. Yeah.
Weird.
I never knew that. I looked it up today. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And one thing we mentioned, like their great albums. And they did like their greatest hits album is called Far Beyond the Great Southern Cowboys Display of Power or something. Like, they mashed all of the names of the albums into one for like their greatest hits compilation that they put out like back in like 2010 or something. Yeah,
that's cool.
Well,
yeah.
Fuck, man. I could talk.
We could.
Pantera's so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought that was Dimebag that was getting.
I thought so too.
Yeah, that's why I was like, when I read that on Wikipedia too. I was like, no, I thought that was Dimebag, but
Yeah.
maybe
Didn't have the beard back
maybe
then.
that was a rumor.
Yeah. Looks more like Mustaine, honestly. Mustaine.
They finally did it.
They finally did it.
They finally did it.
It's cool though, man. Like I love these metal picks, like,
Mm-hmm.
because I like a lot of these. Some of these I've heard of, but just
Right.
not like a full album, like deep dive into it.
Yeah.
And I think it's great, and like I want to get more into this stuff too, because it
Yeah.
like revisits like old memories when I was listening to like a lot of rock and metal and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah, for sure.
I had always heard of Pantera and a couple other music, but now hearing like the actual full thing, like it's like, give me more.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
this is a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
like jumping off point to go into their other stuff.
Yeah.
Go back one and forward one, and you're good.
Yeah, exactly. You could do, yeah.
And then keep going forward after that. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'm gonna go into their glam stuff, see what.
Yeah. And they are right now, like, there's the like some of the biggest news out of the metal scene right now, or I guess it's kind of died down. They're doing a reunion tour right now with Zach Wilde, who was Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist for a bit, started Black Label Society, which is a pretty good group, and the drummer is Charlie Benante from Anthrax, another great thrash metal band. But we want to top it off. Top three it up, dude.
Top three it up. The honorable mention for me is This Love,
Yep.
just because of like, I remember watching Beavis and Butthead.
Dude, yes, bro. That fucking episode is
Damn
so...
it, Pantera!
Damn it, Pantera. Dude,
Is that in Beavis and Butthead?
Yes. Did you ever watch Beavis and
Yeah,
Butthead?
yeah,
You know when
of
they would do the music videos?
Yes.
This they did This Love
Really?
for one of them. Yeah, dude.
That's cool.
It fucking rules.
I must have missed that. Damn.
Dude, it's so good.
So good. And then 3, 2, 1, I go A Mouth for the War, and then People, Conceit, and then By Demons Be Driven.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Honorable mentions for me, I'm going A New Level and then Walk. And then number 3 for me is This Love. Number 2, Fucking Hostile. And number 1 is Rise. Just that, the like tempo changes and everything in Rise are just so awesome. I went into this, like when you brought it up, I was like, oh yeah, Walk and This Love probably going to be my top 3. And then I heard Rise again for the first time in like 5 years, and I was like, oh fuck, I forgot how badass that song was.
Cool song.
And then real quick, the vocal effects on Fucking Hostile during the chorus when he's got that distorted mic is so clean. That's why it's like you can tell Terry Date was helping them with this, because it's just got so much just awesome production going on.
Jeez. If I'm going shout out, I want to like talk about also A New Level. Something about that song, man. Like when you hear the chorus, like a new level of confidence, like it's like nuts, dude. It like I was like, holy shit. I should have gotten into Pantera like a lot sooner.
Yeah.
I would have. Like,
you'd be an upside down tortilla chip right now.
I
You'd be
would,
fucking
yeah.
shredded.
I'd probably, yeah. Top 3, This Love. It really threw me off. I was like, is this a love song? I'm like, oh no. By Demons Be Driven. Number 3, No Good. And then Regular People.
Nice.
Regular People. Yeah. Love that song. Kept coming back to that and No Good.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this whole album fucking nuts, man.
Kicks ass.
Heavy.
And that was Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera, their 6th album from 92. We'll go ahead, wrap this baby up, talk about Jake's for this week. Okay, let's put a bow on this motherfucker and take her on home. We're gonna do so by talking about Jacob's pick for this week. So why don't you go ahead and intro that?
Yes, so Marvin Gaye, What's Going On?
Fuck yeah.
Came out 1971. Yeah, one of my favorite, not only soul albums, but I feel like albums just in general. Very, like, when I listen to this, like, I feel like my day just gets brighter. Like, it just feels like so much more happier. I'm in a better mood. Like, I'm like snapping, like driving in the car. Like, you know, it's, I don't know how it makes me feel about it, but there's a lot to talk about this, I feel like. What are you guys' thoughts?
I referred to this episode in a half joking manner, but now, you know, that I've thought about it since this morning, I was talking to my roommate Gavin. I was like, I'm referring to this episode as the 3 stages of grief, or the early stages of grief episode, because we've got anger, kind of some like denial and like sadness with the 1975, and then kind of like melancholy, you know, kind of the getting over, you know, grief stage kind of thing. I was like, it's a condensed early stages of grief podcast with these albums, like just the general feel of everything. It's fucking, I thought that was pretty funny. And I haven't listened to Marvin Gaye in a hot minute, so I was really glad that you brought this up. This is an album that I've been eyeing getting myself, because there's, with collecting, and you know, like that's, I like the fact that we all collect. You know, that's kind of one of the points of the podcast. We get to talk about, you know, cool discs, or you know, and one of my things that this is like an album that you have to have in a collection. You know, or at least, you know, something in this realm. You know, like for me, it's Dock of the Bay. Yeah. You know, that I was like, I gotta have that in my collection, even if it's just the one song, you know, or whatever. And What's Going On is very much an album that's similar to that. Like if you collect records, it means that you have an appreciation for a vast range of music. Usually, you gotta have What's Going On.
You gotta have this,
yeah. It's a staple.
It is.
Yeah. But Matt, would you like to dive in? I'm gonna pull back.
Matt, what's going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
No, it's a good album, man. I remember being introduced to it early on, kind of out of high school, and I never listened to soul music, and so Marvin Gaye was kind of new to me. But What's Going On, that intro, that song just kind of caught me. I think I heard it like walking through a Circuit City or something. Like somebody had it on like a stereo or something. And I was like,
Circuit City.
And so I asked the guy, I'm like, who is this? He's like, this is Marvin Gaye, man. I'm like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to step on your toes, but that was my introduction to him. And then I bought the CD that day and like went home and played it, and I liked the final track on this album, Inner City Blues. It's just so catchy and just so like soulful, and like that vibe of the whole album.
And it's
and this album in general is kind of sad as far as the lyricism. Some of the songs are cool, like God Is Love, kind of a powerful, positive song, but a lot of the things that he's writing about is the Vietnam War and you know, being rejected and being, you know, it's the 60s, you know, or you know, it's the 70s, it's whatever. It's them going through whatever they're going through as, you know, individual artists, or just kind of writing about, you know, the struggle of being a performer and, you know, not being a white performer, and like having to deal with all the bullshit they had to deal with and still have to deal with, you know. So he was I think he was able to write about it in a sense that it caught on so well. And a lot of these songs, they stayed on the charts, you know, for a long time. So people caught on and they enjoyed them. So
no, just real quick. And I mean, it's an album that is considered a timeless classic at this point. You know, every once in a blue moon, Rolling Stone does their top 500 albums of all time, and they did the newest list back in 2020, I believe, and this was the #1 album on the list. And so, you know, Rolling Stone magazine, you know, as, you know, maybe as bullshit as it is now, you know, in comparison to where it was back in the day, you know, when rock music was huge, Rolling Stone was the shit, but they still have, you know, what they say is you're like, all right, you know, like they've got a leg to stand on because they've been covering music for so long. And so the fact that this, you know, made it to the top spot is pretty unreal. And you know, you mentioned the lyricism on this is pretty sad, and Marvin Gaye had a fucking horrible life.
He did.
Such terrible. A sad story.
It is.
You know,
it's terrible.
You know, with how he died, the shit that happened before he died makes you kind of question: was Marvin Gaye maybe kind of a scumbag? Because, you know, maybe not, but it's
why did all these things happen?
It's just like wild the shit that he had to go through, and that he did end up going through. He still managed to put out some great music in this, you know, 30-minute album is a true testament to that, and it stood the test of time. You know?
It did. And for them, for this band, it's like, you know, it was him as being like credited as the producer of this album as for the first time.
This is the first time that he
and then he had
produced.
some, I think some of the people from the Four Tops as the background, and as far as the backing band. So, you know, for all of them to get together and do this album, it's just so, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just got such a timeless sound, and you know, it's like you said, it's one of the greatest albums of all time.
Yeah, that surprised me because I've always liked this album. But yeah, I read that too, that when they did a revisit for like the best albums or whatever, this was like the number one spot.
We could get into some of the other bullshit that they put in that list.
They could,
as far as we could get into that, but it's beating a dead horse. We're not here to talk shit. But I thought that was
one
really
that
cool.
I could. It's hard to argue with that pick though. Like some of the picks that you hear about, they're like, no, that's a bullshit
there's
pick.
no
But
way.
This is like, it's a good album.
And it's all like, especially with music, it's all like opinionated. So anyone can have, you know, anyone can say this is the worst. But for it just to see that, like, so many people did and are kind of on the same page, it's like, okay, maybe. But it's definitely like Marvin Gaye. He was very like one of the bigger like soul artists and R&B. He did R&B stuff also, but this one definitely like for the lyrical content that he was doing to it, like, you know, like you mentioned, being Amor, but like with that aside, like just you hear like the sax in it and you hear like everything come together, like it just sounds like such a organized like orchestra, and it's like just beautiful. Like it's the way that it sounds, like it just makes everything so happy, so cheery. All of the songs on it, it was like a concept album that he was doing, that it was all the same, you know, the same subject matter, and you hear that through the songs too. They all flow into each other like perfectly.
Beautifully. It's like a fucking Tool album, how they flow into each other.
It doesn't chop at all. Like it's almost flawless how it goes into one track to the next.
I kept having to, like, when I would listen to this and do something, because these kind of albums, they're, you know, soul, R&B. I like to like cook dinner to them, because it's like, you know, you're unwinding from a day, put on something chill, you put on like a jazz piece or this, and I kept having to be like making sure that I was catching the songs changing, because I got duped a couple of times, like from God Is Love to Mercy Mercy Me. Halfway through Mercy, I was like, did the song change? And so I like looked, and it was like the time was like halfway through the song. I was like, fuck, let me back that, like let me hear the end of God Is Love into this. And I was like, damn, this, like, it does flow so well. Which, you know, I've said it time and time again, man, the way that you lay out an album really does something. And so the fact that they were even doing that shit in the early 70s is top notch.
And I loved also like just the song structure, how everything is, all the lyrics, it's super thought out. I love the beat switch on Save the Children. Like the ending of it, I was like, oh snap, like my guy was doing beat switches before I was doing it. And everyone, like all these producers, it was cool. But just something about this album, man, it brings me back. I have so many good memories with it. Like when I think about this album, I just think of like, you know, happy places, like happy thoughts, like me being with my family, or, you know, us being on a road trip and we're listening to something, and it's just like we're all vibing, you know, like I have a lot, you know, appreciation for it. It really got me into soul, I could say, because if you think about soul music, like you can talk about the cult classics, like, you know, Aquatics and, you know, all these other bands, but like for fundamental, like Marvin Gaye is up there.
This is the gateway drug to R&B and soul music. You know, if you hear this album, you're like, I love that sound, you know, because it was, you know, and this is fucking awesome that you brought this up right after I did Dock of the Bay, because they're same but different. And they came out within such close proximity to each other that, you know, Otis Redding was a little bit different because it was a little older, you know, the 70s hadn't quite come around yet, so it was still kind of, you know, old school instrument influenced. And then, you know, soul music comes in, and then this album comes out, and it's a little bit different, but you can see similarities in them, but also vast differences that, you know, it's like Otis Redding was alluding to a whole movement that ended up coming, and then it was like, who the fuck is this guy named Marvin Gaye? Oh, he's going to be one of the greatest songwriters of all time by the time we're done talking about it, you know?
Yeah, he really kicked it off for soul music. He was definitely up there for, you know, one of the ones that was bringing it up and making it popularized. Even all the singles that he had done before this, like, who hasn't heard his cover of, you know, Hear It from through the Grapevine?
Yeah.
Like, who hasn't heard that?
Sexual Healing.
Yeah. He did a lot of R&B stuff.
Yeah.
And I like the insert, like the inside of it. It kind of has like,
oh wow,
like a family album of like just all like pictures of him and his family and stuff.
That one right where
Pretty
it says
cool.
family photo album, that picture of him right below that is like an iconic photo of him with like the small ass beanie cap on.
Yeah,
that's an iconic fucking photo of him.
Yeah, and I think it does have the lyrics. Oh yeah, it does have
That's
lyrics
cool.
on it. Cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. I felt like we had brought up so much soul. I had brought up so much soul that I had to bring up a classic.
You gotta backtrack and talk about one of the greats every once in a while. You know? It's like when we started this podcast, we've talked about so much hip hop at this point, and then we didn't even bring up like Biggie or anybody until we're like over 20 episodes in.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So had to give my flowers to, you know, one of the founding and what influenced me to bring in, like, you know, soul and this jazzier vibe to it. So,
and that's what I think is pretty cool, because, you know, there's really everybody that is as into music as the three of us are have, you know, their main genre that they're into, you know, and there's always an album that was like, this is what fucking did it. Like, this is really what did it. Like,
it's like a landmark in recording for that kind of music,
like,
in general, especially back in that time.
Yeah.
You know?
And yeah, man, and this is one of those albums that you almost want to like take a time machine back to when it came out and see like the reaction of it. Like when we talked about Paranoid by Black Sabbath, I would have loved to see how pissed parents were about that album. This one, I'm like, people were probably like, what the hell? Like, this is sick.
Yeah, dude, because the change of time, like, you know, from the war and everything, and it's talking about this. Like, I wonder how people, not only like in pop culture, but like in also like culturally, like were responding to it. You know?
And you had just had Woodstock, which was one of the biggest events in American history. You know, 2 years prior to this, and so the 60s to like 2000s, it's why music gets separated up in decades. It's because of those 4 decades, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, is because there is such a distinct sound that is so unique to each decade. And then, so, you know, you get into the 70s and it's like, oh, like the 60s were pretty cool. Grateful Dead kind of kicked ass. You know, Jimi Hendrix was pretty cool. What's next? And it's like, oh, we're gonna be doing this weird soul shit. That's pretty cool. This Marvin Gaye fella really knows how to sing. You know, like shit like that. So you just, it really does like define a moment in time, really.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, man, I could go on about it, but like, you know, I might make it too long. I like his jacket that he has. It's pretty cool.
That back photo, that is a swagged out motherfucker.
Yeah, it's raining and everything, but he has like no care in the world. Like,
it's like, this is sad music and I'm sad. Okay.
It's one of those album covers you see and you'll never forget either.
Yeah.
It's so good.
There's like the what's that, like
junk pile?
Like the toys, like,
you
know, on the side or something.
Yeah. And it is one of those that you see the album cover for it. Like, I will spot it at House of Records every once in a while. I'm like, oh, no, what's going on? You know, and like, it's fucking timeless, man. This brought me back to like being in high school and my mom and stepdad playing Marvin Gaye, and that was when I got introduced to Otis Redding and shit. Nice. And I was like, man. So like the past 2 weeks, I've just been like, what the hell? Like, and it's been rainy as shit, and like I just remember like my stepdad like making dinner and stuff and having like Marvin Gaye playing, and I was like,
that's cool.
What the hell is that?
What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
What's happening, my man?
What's happening, my man? Oh man.
Do you want to do top threes on this?
Yeah. Let's do it.
So top 3. If I'm gonna go top 3, Right On. That's gonna be my honorable mention.
Yep.
I feel like every Marvin Gaye album has like a really long song that's super good. And this is one of them. This is a song on this album. It's pretty long. It clocks in at 7 minutes, but it's just 7 minutes of just like some funky soul. Like it's some good stuff. And then I'm going top 3. I'm gonna go What's Going On, number 3. Flying High in the Friendly Sky, and then Mercy, Mercy Me.
Nice.
It's hard to pick a top 3 on this album.
It is. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Honorable mention for me, Mercy, Mercy Me. Number 3 was Save the Children. I just liked how he would like say the start to the line, like just speak it, and then he would back it up with singing it like that. Kind of call and response was really cool.
Yeah.
Number 2 was What's Going On. Fantastic way to start off an album.
That sax when you hear in the intro, dude.
Oh yeah,
like
dude.
Melt a little bit.
Just a fantastic way to kick this album off. And then number 1 for me was Inner City Blues. I did really like that. A great way to round the album out.
Yeah, the song's so good. Honorable mention for me was God Is Love. It's got the cool positive vibe going there. Number 3, What's Going On. Number 2, Flying High in the Friendly Skies. And then number 1, just like you, Inner City Blues.
Hell yeah.
Got such a cool little funky vibe.
Yeah.
Memorable for sure. Great album. Great pick.
Great pick. Thank you for bringing it up. It's one of those that was going to happen eventually. And I'm glad, you know. And I feel like we've kind of unintentionally done it. You know, like how I said just earlier, we hadn't brought up Biggie until we were like 20 episodes in, and we covered a shit ton of hip hop. Same thing with this. We've covered a ton of R&B, soul, and now we're finally bringing up a great. So I think the way that we've managed to do that is pretty cool, and just Marvin Gaye, man. Rest in peace him. Rest in peace Dime, Vinnie Paul. A lot of death in this episode. But fuck this episode. Let's go ahead and talk about what we're bringing up next week on Whatchu Spinnin' episode 45. All right. It's time to introduce what we'll be talking about on next week's episode of the Whatchu Spinnin' podcast. Your favorite stooges talking about music that you don't give a shit about.
I'm a stooge.
And we'll go ahead and go in order that we brought the albums up in, or that we talked today. So that means I'm going first. And I'm going little curveball from where I've been going lately. Gonna bring up some mid-tempo EDM with Something Wrong Here by Rez, R-E-Z-Z. She's a chick from Canada, makes just bitchin' music, and this is her EP from 2016. Something Wrong Here by Rez.
Okay.
I've heard you bring up Rez.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Got me into mixing. Like further, like I was starting to mix and DJ, and then someone introduced me to her, and I was like, yeah, this is now my new favorite hobby.
Got to bring up your beat mix, dude.
I know. Shit.
Nice.
What do you got?
2014 self-titled album by a band called Mimicking Verza from Portland.
Nice.
So local band.
Hell yeah.
A little softer.
I like it.
Than my pick this week, so
Nice.
feel like it.
Hell yeah.
I like local picks, dude.
Yeah.
They're freaking awesome. I love seeing what we have here locally.
Yeah. Because Oregon's not known for a whole lot, music-wise.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Phenomena.
Yeah.
Floater.
Yeah.
Floater. Good stuff.
Mimicking Birds, which I'm sure we'll all love. Portland tends to bring up good shit.
Yeah. My album, Eve's Two More. Heaven to a Tortured Mind.
That's a cool cover.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's like some indie rock.
Indie rock? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, once again, I've
influenced me. Yeah.
All right. Eve's Two More is the name of it?
It's spelled Y-V-E-S, but it's pronounced Eve's Two More.
Okay. Man, this is going to be another great... Damn, dude. We just keep going all over the place. I'm so hyped. Man, I'm really looking forward to that. Episode 44 will be awesome. But this, in the meantime, has been episode 43 of Whatchu Spinnin'. I'm Dorian. That's Matt. And that's Jacob. We'll be right back next week to talk about some even more out there stuff. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you next time.